Hi, it's Wendy again, attorney and creator of Command the Courtroom. So welcome to part 3 of my interview with my client, Carlos, a dad who recently got equal parenting time and who has joint custody of his children. In this video, we're going to talk about finding balance with your children. So Carlos, as you will see from the interview, is really a compassionate, gentle listener. It seems like, based on my time with him, that he's very good with his children. He takes time with them to really hear what's going on with them. But he does balance that against the discipline that all kids need when they kind of take a wrong turn. So check out part 3 of the video and I'll see you after.
So how do you find the balance? I mean, it sounds like you grew up in a really strict home, with two strong disciplinarians. And so with your own kids, I mean, I can see that you have a lot of compassion and that you're listening to them. And how do you balance that against being the disciplinarian that all kids need at some point?
I think my thing is I also give I've come into this thing with my wife, and I've spoken to my wife about that, and she helps a lot in helping me hold the line, so to speak. So if I say something to my daughter, like, I expect this of you, and then she does something to break it or break my trust or say something that just wasn't like with what I expected of her, there's always going to be some sort of consequence. And it doesn't have to be something physical, because what I found out is, like, let me tell you, and I'm not ashamed to say, my mom spanked me so much. I mean, and my dad hardly ever. All he had to do was look at me and discuss, and that made me cry. I break down and go in my room. My mom would spank me endlessly for things that I deserved. And you know what? I don't feel like that is where we are anymore. I think that our children now want to hear from us. They want to hear from us, and they want to be validated. And especially kids that are in two different households. And I think with going to the discipline thing, like, the first thing that was biggest that we talked about was like the different sets of rules. Like, whatever you do, like, don't undermine mom. And I always tell my daughter, like, hey, whatever your mom tells you to do, that's what you got to do over there. But when you come here, there might be different rules, and you have to go by whatever I say, or my wife. And I tell her too, like, in my case, we're a blended family, so I have to also acknowledge that my wife is part of this family, and she shouldn't be made to feel like somehow she's someone on the outside. And you have to do that. Like, I tell my daughter, like, hey, you cross my wife or you cross me, it's one and the same. It's not one or the other, because believe it or not, kids are very smart. They will split you where they think they can. And my daughter has tried that, to split, like, good cop, bad cop at mom's house, then coming over here, and then playing on certain parts of my own guilt, maybe my own guilt because things didn't work out the way I wanted them for her, and then kind of exploiting that in a way. So you have to be really in touch, where I think that's where I'm telling you, like, in my experience, you have to have like a good communication with her. And my wife always tells me, like, you have a good bond with your daughter. Like, the fact that your daughter speaks to you about so many personal things in a way that she's not even embarrassed. She comes up to you and tells you about certain things. And I go, you think? And it's sometimes I don't even recognize it. I just feel like, do you really think that was something important? She goes, oh yeah. As a woman, she's like, I didn't do that with my dad. Like, or the way your daughter talks to you alone about very private things. I go, that speaks volumes of like the relationship that you've made with her. And my son too, my son's small. And now everything, big things with small kids is, timeouts. And let me tell you, it breaks your heart sometimes, because I do have to be pretty firm with him, because he is a boy and he is in different households. And with him, man, it breaks my heart to have to sit him down in his room and walk out of there while he's screaming at the top of his lungs for me or for whatever's going on. And nicely, and I just take deep breaths and just tell him, like, when you're ready to be nice to me and talk to me, I will be right out here. You let me know. Sometimes 5 minutes does it, sometimes 10, sometimes longer. And then, and it's weird. It's weird how when you come back, you leave with a guilty conscience that you're doing something bad. And then in the middle of the night, we're sitting down somewhere, and out of nowhere, he comes up and hugs on me like he's never seen me and tells me, you're the best daddy in the world.
Yeah.
And that is where, like, I guess kind of like tough love, man. You got to, like, if you don't start treating them now like adults, you're just going to, grow kids, and they're not going to respect anybody.
That's for sure. And I see that a lot in the cases that I deal with, or years down the road, I hear about it from the parents, and what I like that you had to say about discipline is, how you tell the kids and you affirm for them that when they're with their mom, they need to listen to their mom. And because I hear a lot of parents who undermine the other parent because they don't like the other parent or they don't agree with the other parent's parenting style, but the truth of the matter is a lot of the reasons one of the reasons that people's relationships don't work out is because they don't share the same parenting style. So it makes sense that post-divorce or after the separation that those parenting styles remain the same, which are different.
You're right.
But go ahead.
The biggest thing that I also like that just rung out was in our case was just, I don't know, his words were just, the judge's words to me were like, you could see that he had some empathy as he spoke. And he said to me, just do the best you can on the days that you have them. Because I know that's not easy, but that's all I can offer you. And I really took that to heart. Like, I think I might've slipped like once or twice after, where I was still trying to say something to the kid's mom about maybe something that I didn't agree with that she was doing, maybe exposing them too much to something. And then she was really quick to say, hey, no need to parent in my house. And then I made that mistake, and I said, you know what? And then I took it upon myself to reflect, and I haven't done it since. And I pretty much have left that alone. And just, if she wants to be on board with extracurricular activities that I involve the kids in, I'm all supportive of it. I asked her to be a part of things. I try not to like exclude her from anything, where I know that what I do, I think the biggest thing that I try to do is go reflect back on my childhood when like my parents were at soccer games or events, they were there together. So even though we're not together, I always tell their mom, I said, hey, if you want to be a part of it, I'm totally okay with it. I won't, say anything or do anything. And I've even paid for everything. Like I did ask, like, cordially, like, hey, would you like to split this cost? And, the answer was no. And, instead of getting upset, you can only do what you can do. And I said, okay. So I paid for it all because in my eyes, it's my daughter benefits from it. Not, you can't make it. You can't get stuck over and over on what's right and wrong, because in that situation, I think that if you do that, you're never going to allow your kids to like get the best of both of you. You're just going to be stuck fighting with them over and over.
Yeah. And so, what you are saying really rings true, because it's always about the kids and, what's best for them. That should always come first. And I do feel like people get hung up on, I want to be right. I mean, it's not fair. Our kid is in softball, mom should be paying half because she, the kids are half hers, and they get into these battles and they go to court about somebody not paying for half the extracurricular activities.
Yeah. And I did that a little bit in the beginning before we went to trial, I remember. And then but what I learned is I just asked. And if it wasn't, the judge's, words were rang in my head, and I said, hey, just do what you can do on your days. And I offered to, pick up and drop off, even though that might not be like in the eyes of somebody like, fair. Like, well, it isn't fair that I have to go pick up my kids and drop them back off. It should be her responsibility. I think that you should put all of that pettiness aside. Like, if you really want something for your kids and they seem to be thriving and it's not just something that you're just pushing down their throats, then I think that you should do more to facilitate whatever it takes to make them succeed, because I think you're going to see your kids just flourish so much more by doing that, instead of just like, complaining so much about what they don't do. Because, let's face it, like you said, we're in this place because there's two different people that have two different very ideas, and whatever caused the separation is really not even important anymore. It isn't. And you need to get beyond that. And I know that, thank God, that I have had a wife that has totally like shown me what like true love is and how to be an even better person. And that in itself has like propelled me to just be like patient, understanding, be more empathetic, and not only just to my kids and to my wife, but to my ex too, because I think that if you're just hung up on my problems, and you're getting a lot of loud noises from the other side, and stomping their feet. If you don't ever stop to look at why they might be doing that, and I think that you'll never get any further. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because I deal with it pretty on a constant basis, and sometimes it's I've had many friends tell me, like, gosh, like, I don't know how you do it, or I don't know how you could deal with that losing your mind. And I was like, you know what? I do it for my kids. I said, and I do it, and it's okay. Like, that person's anger doesn't define me. Their comments, their insults or put downs or whatever. They might not even be insults, but whatever negativity, that doesn't define me. Like, if my daughter on her own accord comes up to me and says, hey, Dad, you're not doing a good job or whatever, then I know, like, hey, I need to stop, and I need to assess what's going on.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in for part 3 of this series of my interviews with Carlos. Look out next week for the next 2 releases that we will be having. We're going to release 2 videos next week. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have not already, head to commandthecourtroom.com to check out all the goodies on the website there. And until next time, remember to keep on trucking and command the courtroom.